All right, welcome back, Earth Science students, to another video. This time we're talking about weathering and rock cycle. Uh, just before we get into actual content, just a couple reminders that we are, in fact, in full swing. Some of you are a little bit behind on your assignments, although most of you are killing it. You're up to date. That being said, those of you that are falling behind, make sure that you are getting caught up. Okay, like I said at the very beginning of this is going to be very, very student driven. Okay, I'm not there to tell you that you need to be doing this stuff constantly. Okay, if I have to, okay, I'm going to start emailing those of you that aren't turning in assignments to figure out something that we can do to get you on the right track. That being said, if I put in a missing for you and you know that you turned something in or feel like you turned something in, just message me either in Teams or email me or whatever, like some of you have already done, and we'll figure out either what happened to it or if you need to resubmit or whatever, as long as we're all good there. Again, remember, I'm not too worried about late grades right now. We're still learning how this is all going to work out and how that's all going to work. That being said, we do need to try to keep on top of all of our stuff and keep this class moving so that we can get where we need to get, and so you all can get credit for this Earth Science class. Coming up, a couple new things. I'm going to start seeing if I can allow you to take the video checks twice. I have a lot of people getting 4s out of 5 or 3 out of 5 that want to redo them because as of right now, with only 4 grades in the grade book, it is affecting your grade quite a bit. That being said, guys, if you're watching my videos fully and really paying attention, those things should be relatively straightforward. Okay, they should be word for word what I'm saying in the videos. I'm actually not going to do one for this one because it's so short. So don't worry about looking for a check for this one. There's only like 3 slides. We're going to get through it really quick. And then we got some activities. There will be coming up a quiz next grading period, so posted on next Monday. There will be a quiz for you guys to take. It's going to be the first quiz that we have. It's going to be the first thing in your assessment category for this class. So make sure that you finish the review and that you are prepared for that. All right, so first thing into weathering and the rocks. I remember we were talking about weathering as the breakdown of rock. Last week we talked about mechanical versus chemical weathering and how those all play out. One's physical, one's chemical, that sort of thing. We're going to look at how that plays a role in the rock cycle. Okay, so the first thing that we need to know is that there are 3 types of rock that we're going to talk about in this class: igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. Okay, so if you look through my little diagram here, you can see where everything is. Sedimentary rock is the things that settle at the bottom of, after our erosion and everything and all the rock gets carried down, the deposition of the sediment. What happens is then it gets pressurized and compacted by the earth, that makes it into metamorphic rock. Okay, so deformation and metamorphism changes it to metamorphic rock. Eventually it gets so hot that it liquefies again and it melts and it becomes magma, and then the igneous rock comes out of the volcanoes and hardens as igneous rock, and then again it starts the cycle all over and the rocks break down and they become sedimentary rock, and so on. Okay, so that's how we are talking about how sedimentary rocks are made. So they first come from igneous rock, and then they are weathered away by water or wind and other things, and they become sedimentary rock, and the whole cycle starts again. Okay, so the answer again is weathering and erosion, mostly the water cycle itself, which you guys covered a lot in middle school, so we're not going to really touch on that again. Okay, so water and the rock cycle. So a couple things. Okay, outgassing from volcanoes. So remember from last quarter that outgassing is when the gases come out of the volcano. Okay, they're a mixture of a bunch of things. You can notice that some of it is going to be water vapor. Okay, and what you imagine is that the outgassing, okay, the gases are being pressurized and pushed out of the volcano, and this is allowing the magma to come out of the volcano and form igneous rock on the Earth's crust. Okay, but you can also imagine that the water that is escaping is going to condense, okay, and come back down to Earth because of what we know about the water cycle. Okay, and so then that comes into where it breaks down the rock. Okay, so when the water falls down, okay, there's a lot of different types of weathering as we talked about. Okay, it can be chemical, it can be dissolution, hydrolysis, that sort of thing, or it can be abrasion, which is a mechanical weathering, or any of the other mechanical weatherings. It kind of depends on where you're at. Okay, so this is what causes sedimentary rock to form. So the igneous rock is what comes off of the volcano, and then sedimentary rock is formed from the breakdown of that igneous rock. All right, so what happens to water during the water cycle? So water is pretty much present in all phases of the rock cycle. Yes, even deep down here when metamorphic rock is changing back to magma. Okay, but as we talked about what it looks like for water at the top. Okay, so up here it's mostly talking about the weathering and erosion that the water does at the top, and then it transports the rock down to the deposition where we get the sedimentary rock. Now, what happens is that eventually the sedimentary rock dives deep into the Earth's mantle, and what it does is it carries water with it in its little pockets in between the rocks. Okay, so if you imagine if you had a jar full of rocks, okay, you can still fill that jar with water because there's empty spaces in between. Okay, so that's kind of what is happening here with this metamorphic rock diving deep into the mantle. And what that does is, if you remember that water has a high specific heat, it doesn't change temperature that quickly. And so what happens is it allows it to do this partial melting, which is where our magma is created. So because of the water content, it doesn't allow it to just vaporize with the heat of the Earth or get super liquefied. It actually forms like a magma, which isn't completely liquid, it isn't completely solid, it's kind of somewhere in between. But that's what water does for us at that point. That's why I have this partial melting, because it's not completely melting into a full liquid at that point. And then eventually it does, with the pressure and gases that build up, get forced out through a volcano, and the whole process starts over again. Okay, now that is literally all I have for you. Okay, all we're talking about is water's role in the rock cycle. And so hopefully now you get an idea of there's water present in all phases, and that it plays an important role in each phase, from the breakdown to the transportation and then to the partial melting because of its high specific heat. Other than that, you guys have a couple assignments to finish for the that are due this Sunday. Okay, so make sure that if you have any questions on them, either pop into my office hours or send me an email, send me a message, and we'll get it all squared away. Thanks for watching.